Hey guys, it's Monday, February 22nd, 2021. It's Monday, so it's time for Free App Mondays. So I do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday where I bring you free apps for music production to help you with all your musical endeavors and adventures. So just to remind you guys about my video series on PC specs and how it affects music production. Part 4 has been done. It's been released. I streamed it on I think it was Friday. But it's there. The link is in the description for all 4 parts. So part 1 was about CPU. Part 2 was about RAM. Part 3 was about hard drive and storage, and part 4, which was about GPU, your graphics processing unit. So check those out. The link is in the description. Anyway, for today, the free app for this Monday is from a company called HY plugins. So this week, I'm going to be focusing on all HY plugins this week. I'll bring other stuff too along with it, but the main theme for this week will be HY plugins, and I'll show some other stuff. Of course, on Fridays we'll do like a weekly wrap up, talk about some music news if there's anything important, and I'll just showcase quickly some of the free plugins that released this week. That's what I always do every Friday to wrap up the plugins. So we're still gonna go through HY plugins on Friday, but we'll do the weekly wrap up. So without further ado, guys, let's jump on over to the DAW and see what we got today. So number one we have is HY Delay 4. So with this plugin, with the HY plugins, they have a very consistent aesthetic to how they look, and all the interfaces are resizable. So okay, the second plugin is going to be HY-ESG, and I'll get into the details about that in a minute. So with HY Delay, you have all the usual suspect here. It's your run-of-the-mill delay plugin. One thing I like about this plugin is it's very fully featured for a delay. So over here we see delay time, and you can lock it right here to make sure that it's locked. Left and right is locked, or you can have it where left and right is separate. You can also, of course, lock it to the tempo of your DAW, so you're now dealing with time signatures, beats per minute. It'll lock in, so you can do quarter notes, whole notes, half notes, things of that nature. And you can get your triplets and all that other stuff. Triplets, dotteds, all that. So once you hit this right here, right now we're unlocked. Once you hit this right here, you notice the time on the right is now locked into time signature, whole notes, half notes, triplets, dotteds, all that stuff. And on this side here, it's still set to milliseconds. So you can hit this and lock that, and now you got the time signatures right here also. Quarter note, whole note, half note, eighth notes, triplets, dotteds, all that good stuff. So, and this little paddle here is for ping pong delay. Alright, so moving right along, you have your feedback section, and down here you have high pass, low pass for the feedback. Over here we have an EQ, which is dealing with your input signal. And right here there's an amp section for you to boost the amplitude of the delay, and panning. So one cool thing is they have a ducker, so you can set up your ducker so that your delay ducks when the signal's coming in, and then once it's done, once the signal is done, then you'll get your delay will pop up, which also keeps your signal very clear and very clean when you're mixing. It keeps the whole mix clean and clear when you have ducking enabled. So it's cool that all that stuff is built in. So down here we have the in, the mix, and the out level, which is pretty cool. Down here you have some options where you can roll the dice on specific parameters, and you can roll the dice on all the parameters where you just get a random algorithm just generating some random settings for everything. If you're just trying to find, you know, something random, you don't know what you're looking for, but you're just trying to check things out and see what might sound good on your sound. So hold on for a second. Why am I getting clipping here? Check. Okay, I seem to be still streaming. Anyway, so there's presets here. Hold on, I don't see any presets. There's supposed to be presets. I guess there are no presets. Anyway, moving right along, let's move to the next plugin. We have HY. Well, you know what? Let's go through. All right, let's pull this up. Let's do this. We got the HY-ESG. So the ESG stands for Euclidean Sequencer Gate. That's what it stands for. Euclidean is something dealing with Euclidean is dealing with something with math and geometric shapes, and something with the elements, but I'm sure with this plugin it's more about this shape right here and the algorithmic way that it can deal with your the rhythm, because it has a feature for polyrhythmic sequencing. I can't speak today. It's late, guys. It's been a long day. So as we see here, the interface is resizable, and I have an audio example to check this out with. So let's first preview that audio example. All right, so you got the example, you got the idea. Let's turn this on and see. I'm gonna just play with the settings a little bit, and then I'll kind of go through a little bit of an explainer of what's going on. Okay, so what we got going on here, let me initialize this patch. Okay, so it's a gate plugin that has a sequencer. All right, so over here you're dialing in how many steps are in your sequencer, and then if you notice, when I dial in, let's say I dial in 4 steps, all of the steps are filled in. So that's where the pulse knob comes in, and that's gonna start generating a pattern. So if I have the pulse filled all the way in, you're not gonna feel it that much. So we can mess with the attack time of the gate, the attack, release, decay. Basically, there's an ADSR for the gate, which will kind of change dynamically how the gating feels, the whole gating process. So it can be more choppy or it could be smoother, depending on how you set up your ADSR, which is kind of cool. So here now, let's move this up to 8 steps. And once again, now we get a different rhythmic pattern because we only have 5 pulses, which is basically 5 sequence spots within the whole 8 steps filled in. Let's put that to 4. It's more even. And it's cool that we're already getting like a lot of the time signature rhythmic stuff already without even messing with it here. So if we just put this to the standard 8 steps with 4 pulses, right here we have your time signature, where right now it's at 16th notes, and you can change this to 16th note triplets right here where you see this T, and then we got dotted right here. So we got dotted 16ths, 8 steps with 4 pulses. And we're back to just straight 16th notes. So of course here you could change this. And it's gonna change the speed that it's going through the sequence. Now rotate. Let's say we had this on 3. We get a certain pattern. If we now rotate it, the pattern is going to be in a different position, and that's where some of the polyrhythmic aspects of the sequencer comes in. And there's a lot more you could play with, because now we can put the steps in odd numbers, have the pulse in odd numbers, and then change the rotation, which is going to give you even more polyrhythmic sequencing of the gate. So it can get really, really interesting and complicated. The next cool thing is that we have the option to map. Down here we see these LFOs, and they're pulsing at a certain time signature right now. Right now they're at frequencies, but we can actually change this by hitting this little metronome icon right here. So right here I'm on LFO 1, and if I hit this rate next to this rate, the word rate, we hit this metronome icon, it's gonna now sync to the tempo of your DAW, the BPM. And now we have time signatures, we have notes, we got whole notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, bars, all that. We got triplet, dotted. So now we can set this to, let's go half notes. So on half note, you see the rhythm of the sine wave now changes. You can change your waveform based on how you want the modulation to be. If you want it to be very choppy and harsh, with like a square, what, step wave, I guess that is, sine wave or triangle wave. You got this line, which is very interesting also. More like, I guess, a pulse wave. So they have all these different waveforms, which is very interesting. We got steps. That's kind of cool. So now at the way this signal is moving, I can now grab this right here, this, I guess it's a plus sign, and let's drag it to the pulse. So I'm gonna drag it to this plus over here. So drag this over here, basically it's a target, let it go on this. So now it shows you that LFO 1 is now gonna modulate the pulse But the next thing is you have to dial this up right here by clicking over where it says 1, because it's showing you that LFO 1 is connected. I can actually right click on this and say mod 2, which it'll be using mod 2. But let's go back to 1, and then we turn up how much we want the LFO to affect this thing right here, the pulse. So now the pulse rate is constantly changing based on the LFO speed and how we set the waveform. So you get the idea. This is it's a very great creative tool. You can use it on vocals for like one of those stutter effects. Not really stutter, but that gated effect basically. But your gate can be very, very polyrhythmic, very complex, not just the regular standard eighth note, quarter note, or whatever. So this one for me is pretty big. This was released last week. I had mentioned it on Friday and I said I was going to demonstrate it, so here's your demonstration. But this is one of the more complex gating effects, and I really like it. I know some of the things that I want to do with it, but very creative for you to put on sounds, any sound, piano, synth, drums, drum sample, drum loop samples, definitely vocals. If you're trying to get really crazy with vocals, vocal samples just give you some really, really interesting and unique effects. This gives you a lot of parameters to just really dial in some really interesting things. And with everything going on, it's very resizable, so you can get it nice and big and get all into the settings and get lost in the interface. So check out HY-ESG, Euclidean, I should say, sequencer gate, and also check out their delay, HY delay. They're both pretty cool, guys. Check them out. So that's it for today. I'll be back on Wednesday for some more free app Wednesdays. This week I'm gonna be doing part 4 of no, not part 4, part 5 of my series on PC specs and how it relates to music production. So part 5 is supposed to be on audio interfaces. I said it was gonna be only 5 parts, but I just realized I need to do another part. It's gonna be more on MIDI, so there'll be a part 6 on MIDI, and kind of dealing with how that interacts with your PC. So even though it's not really a PC spec, I'm still gonna kind of talk about it and talk about how the other PC specs that I've dealt with in the earlier parts of the series kind of helps and affects MIDI. And I'm still gonna just dive a little bit into MIDI interfaces, very basic, talking about MIDI interfaces and what you need to get dealing with music production and your computer. So I think it all still relates, even though it's not a PC spec per se, but I'm gonna add a part 6 dealing with MIDI and what you need to look for music production. So look out for part 5 this week. I don't know when it's coming. It could be tomorrow, it could be Wednesday, it could be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, but it's definitely coming this week. Part 5 dealing with audio interface, which is not to say the most important, but it is one of the most important aspects of your PC music production and how everything all works together. And it's good to understand what you need to look for when getting an audio interface, because it's recording your audio. So it's very important. You don't want to get the wrong thing, and then you're dealing with a lot of issues, and it's just basically not doing what you needed to do. Then what's the point? So definitely look out for that video. The links for the other parts 1 through 4, are in the description. The links for the plugins I talked about are in the description. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, you'll see me in the next video.